During the summer of 2023, we moved to a remote Scottish Hebridean island to be its only two residents, along with our 2 pet sheep and pair of cats. These remote islands seem to retain an old-fashioned rhythm and a charm which we find encouraging us to live a more frugal and simple life, the way man was perhaps more intended to. We have an ancient stone cottage to restore, veggies to grow, livestock to build up, fish to catch and smoke, a boat to buy, and much more. Step back in time with us at the Scottish Isle.
Quite solid. Okay, that's why. So the old fireplace has been compacted with stone from the island, concrete, cement, and then there's some other form of cement, whatever that is, that was holding this in place. This is still going to be used, obviously, when the stovepipe flue, whatever, from the Victorian stove that we've got is put up there. We don't really want all this is up here, obviously, as you can see there, holding this in place. We don't really want this coming out, but we don't want to see it. But the trouble is, this has completely gone off, and it's just crumbling. It's like polystyrene, whereas this isn't. This is still solid, but it's hard going. It's not easy coming out. Whoever did it knew what they were doing. So how long did that take?
A few hours.
Altogether? About 2 or 3 hours to get it out. Always takes longer. I've probably moved 8 wheelbarrowfuls. There's another one there and a small one there until it's finished. But these things are always, you never know, you never realise just how much comes out of these. But what we found is there is damp. There's like, I mean, it's not damp, there's water. It's been so, that's where the concrete was. So all the moisture has been coming in that corner, in the right-hand corner. Right. So as I've been pulling this out, this sand has been sodden, absolutely soaking wet. But I guess like the big reveal is they are the original.
Yay! Flagstones.
Yes. So just push that. There you go. Look. We have original flagstones.
And so how thick's the concrete?
So here it's really thick. Here you're looking at it being about 4 inches thick, but it's not the concrete. Do you know all the tiles that are in the kitchen and in the hallway? Let me just show what they look like. So these tiles here have also been laid in here. So I don't know if they're just half tiles or they go all the way through. There's a possibility that those tiles, like terracotta tiles, go all the well, they might do. I don't know. They might be under the concrete. They're definitely under the concrete here. But anyway, there we have original flagstones. So if the original flagstones are in the fireplace, we would assume that when we remove all this, so what have we got? Floorboards, chipboard, concrete. We may then have terracotta tiles.
And then flagstones.
And then flagstones. From cake eater. Yeah. There you go. Guess that's a rejection.
When we first arrived on the island, there were some unfinished and uneven terraces here, rather than steps, going up to the cottage. We know from old photos that there used to be a gentle slope here going down to the sea, and we want to reinstate that more natural and rugged look and have a less urban path. A few sturdy young local lads came over and demolished what was here for us, and we'll cover this spoil heap over with earth, grass, and moss from other parts of the island, with some natural stone steps leading up the middle.
Mentalist.
Could you imagine what it might be like to suddenly come across a YouTube channel all about your childhood home? Not just the location, but the actual house. That is exactly what happened to our new friend across the pond, who happily mentioned in the comments that he used to live here in the 60s when he was a young man, and we've since been chatting back and forth about his memories of life on the island. Of the cottage itself, he recalls the room to the right of the front door was indeed the original living room and kitchen, as the fireplace then housed an oven. There was a pantry where the alcove behind the front door is now, accessed by a doorway to the right of the kitchen fireplace, and right enough we've been wondering what that room would have been for. The interior walls were whitewashed stone, which is completely traditional for these old croft houses. Lime washing was brightening, something important in a house with only 2 tiny windows, and also sanitary in that it is naturally antibacterial and water absorbent. Lime washing was an annual job for every Western croft, and they also used slaked lime in pantries and outhouses to absorb unwanted odours and damp. Our friend recalls the old dunny, or outdoor loo, here as being where our modern kitchen now is. He shared with us what is probably the coolest photo we've ever seen of himself in front of the cottage, outhouse behind him and water barrel in the foreground. We will definitely print his photo and hang it proudly in the cottage. When he lived here, he recalls the then owner of the island as being of very strong character, not one to be messed with. He also described being taken by the owner to a cottage over on the mainland on a shopping trip, which he recounted so poetically, saying, "The owner parked on the main road and sent me down through the woods to pick up marmalade from Mrs. Drummond. It was like something out of a Tolkien novel. Beautiful sunny day, birds singing in the trees, and suddenly there is this little white 2-room cottage with beautifully kept fenced gardens around it, and Mrs. Marjorie Drummond coming out to meet me. I told Marjorie what I wanted, and she took me into the cottage where the walls were lined with shelves full of jars and jams, preserves, all neat and tidy. Marge gave me the marmalade and a couple of jams to take home for my mother." To me, this sounds like the perfect example of Highland hospitality. Highlanders prided themselves on their warm welcome. Even if the cotter themselves were impoverished, any visitor was surely fed, watered, dried and warmed, and never left the cottage empty-handed to bless them on their way. He also remembers the old ruins of a township nearby Mr. and Mrs. Drummond, ruins we'd like to explore ourselves, and recollects that one was a schoolhouse serving the whole of the wider community. From part of the school diary from the Victorian period, we were interested to read the school mistress recording that on Thursday morning, only 2 girls were on time to be marked present, though 8 others came in afterwards. It is difficult to remedy this, as some of the people have no clocks. In other entries, she frequently complains that the children are absent due to working at home, either at a potato planting or picking, the peat cutting, or the seaweed harvesting. It's also recorded that the people here spoke Gaelic exclusively, but as part of their schooling, the children were taught to read and write English, though they switched back to the Gaelic immediately upon leaving the schoolhouse.
After we stopped filming yesterday, we decided to do a bit more digging, and what we found was what we thought were the original flagstone floors was just yet more concrete. It looked like stone because of the blackening that had been forming on it through years of water damage. So we dug that out, and what you see here are the original stones on the floor. However, there's concrete around them, in between them, and there's a big mass of it here. Now, the problem with this is we're now thinking that the floor may be entirely concreted, because here you can see this one mass of material, which we originally thought was flagstone, is again just water damaged concrete. So we got our hopes up and they were shot down. We then, in the corner here on the left hand side, you will see a hole. We dug this hole, and what we found was the concrete on top is only 2 to 3 inches thick, and directly beneath all that is just sand and stone. So this has been laid directly on top of the soil base. Also, water is congregating at the edge of that floorboard and in the corner of the fireplace here. And we couldn't figure out where it was coming from, because there is a sizable dip in the actual floor at this point. So the water level is just finding that point, flowing straight to it. And what we realised is that it's coming from the front garden. And here we have it. This little garden that has been created by the previous occupants, as lovely as it is and as much as the bees love it, all the rain is falling straight onto this soil and seeping straight into the house and then rolling down to that lowest point. And that's what's creating all the damp. Where the living room is concerned, this is the issue. It's not the trench at the back of the house. So, as I said, unfortunately, all of this is going to have to go, and go soon. I went for a walk to the right of the cottage, which is slightly elevated, takes you to a higher point, and I came across bushcrafting. I'm going to assume that this is the previous occupant working with his son. There are 2 or 3 different kinds of structures here. Bushcrafting is something that's never really interested me as a pursuit or a leisure activity. I like my bed too much. Sleeping out in the woods doesn't appeal in the slightest. But here there's some kind of walking frame that he'd obviously built for his kids to play on. Underneath this is a swing. And yes, this is another cedar. It's not pine. I clearly don't know my trees. But this is a cedar. And a majestic one at that. And then on my way back home to the house, I came across an elephant.